Good morning and Merry Christmas to you. It's Thursday morning while I'm recording this, and I just wanted to share a few thoughts with you for this Sunday since we wouldn't be gathering. And as for me and my family right now, we're either opening presents or eating our famous Christmas breakfast together, or celebrating some tradition that we usually like to enjoy together on Christmas. And I hope that you're with your family and that you're also enjoying some of those special moments together. But as I thought about what I wanted to share today, I just couldn't get away from the idea that I'd be talking to you while I'm also at home opening presents. And it got me thinking about gifts and the things that I've received from the Lord. And as I look back over the year at this time of year, I thought about several gifts that I've received from the Lord. It reminded me of a verse in James that says, "Every good thing given and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights." So I just wanted to share a few things this year that have meant a lot to me, gifts that I've received from the Lord, and hopefully encourage you to reflect on what the Lord has done for you as well. And so as I was thinking about this, I decided to pull out my journal. I'm not a consistent journaler, but I do write things down from time to time. And this entry actually is from February 22nd of 2021. So we're nearing 2 years ago, and we were right in the middle of the pandemic. We'd kind of been a year in at that point, and things were not going well for me. It was a pretty rough time. And I actually went away for about 10 days up to Pagosa Springs, Colorado, and just me and some time to reflect and pray and read and those kinds of things. So there were several things that I just knew going into that trip even that needed to change, but I just hadn't had time to sit and think about them, ponder them, really reflect on them. And so these are several things that I wrote down even at the beginning of that trip that I just knew were things that I needed to put on paper and begin to work through. So one of the things, the first thing on the list says, I need to lose weight, eat healthy, and exercise. I need to find activity time daily in order to get exercise. And so at that particular time in my life, I was actually working another job on the side while pastoring the church. And so I was actually working 7 days a week, every single week. And anytime that I wasn't here at the church, I was consumed with my other job and making sure that all the reports were entered online and everything was sent in. So it was a really hectic, crazy time for us. And I recognized that I was burning the candle at both ends and a couple spots in the middle there for a while. And I knew that my health was not going to get any better if I didn't find a way to make some time to prioritize that. And as I look back over 2022, that time has come, and God's given me that as a gift this year, and given me the strength and willpower to face it. It's not been easy, but I have lost about 45 pounds this year, and God's been really good to me through that. And so I'm grateful at this point in time this year that God has been gracious to me in giving me that time. He really has given me a good gift in that. Another thing I wrote was too much screen time, unproductive. I need to figure out how to utilize the time waiting for babies to go to sleep for something more productive and enriching. And fortunately, we've kind of changed that routine around. We used to sit while the babies fell asleep in their room, and it took sometimes more than an hour and a half. And we've kind of modified that routine, but screen time was still an issue. And so it was something that I had to work with, and I'm still working on all the time. But I've kind of dropped out of social media, and that has been a blessing. And I've picked up more books, and I've read more this year than I have in a long time. And some of that actually didn't start until the fall, but I went to a pastor's retreat, and at that retreat, I was encouraged by some of the other guys there as they shared books that they'd been reading that I needed to pursue that. I needed to go further with my own enrichment, my own self discipline. And so I've been reading more. And so I've kind of taken some of that time that was being wasted and am utilizing it to grow more in my understanding, to be challenged to go further in the way that I live my life. And so that's been another blessing for me in my life, another gift from the Lord. Next thing on here says, Ketron is a gift. I wrote this in 2021 now, but I wrote, Ketron is a gift that I have taken for granted. We need to spend more time together. And in this past year, Keitra and I have begun meeting together every other week. We've read a couple of books together and shared our thoughts with each other. And it's been a really special time. And I think that some of that has translated into our worship services together. Just he and I being on the same page together and growing together and praying for one another. I think it's having a huge impact on what's going on. And so I see that as a gift from the Lord as well, that he has made it possible for the two of us to have time to work together and to be of one accord as we lead and worship here at Good Hope. Another thing that I wrote here was a new segment of the worship service, something conversational, sharing experiencing God moments throughout the week. And we've had a lot more opportunities for there to be testimony in our worship services this year. And that has been a tremendous blessing to me. And I know to many of you as well. It's great to hear your stories, to know that, we're not alone in the struggles that we face, and also that we're not alone to face them because we have God on our side. And if I can see that so-and-so gets up there and they share their testimony of how God helped them through that crisis, and here I am in the midst of a crisis myself, I can have faith and hope that I'll make it through my crisis because I've seen how God has worked in someone else's life. Your story, some of your hardest struggles that you've ever faced, could be the exact blessing that someone needs to hear. And I've been encouraged every time that one of you have shared, and I look forward to more opportunities for that kind of sharing to go on. And then the other thing, and I didn't have this written here exactly, but I've learned a lot about rest this year. I went to that pastor's retreat I mentioned, and I've gone to it twice now, and they always take us out fishing, and it's a great time. It's a lot of fun, and they know where the fish are. They've got all the tackle rigged up for you so that all you have to do is hold on to the rod and then reel it in when they tell you to reel it in. It's been a lot of fun. We catch a lot of fish every time that I've gone. Here I live in the middle of all these lakes here in East Texas, and I've never really been much of a fisherman. We tried to go fishing whenever I was a kid, but never had a whole lot of luck doing it. And then even as an adult, I've gone fishing several times on my own and usually had come back empty-handed. And if I did catch anything, it wasn't anything worth keeping. And so after going on that trip and talking to those guys, one of the things that they really, really emphasized was just how important it is to rest. There's alarming statistics out there about pastors and ministers who are leaving the ministry. They're getting burnt out. The expectations are too high. There are a lot of guys who are being morally compromised because they've pushed themselves too far and the expectations are too high. And so there is a growing problem, and I want to be on guard against that. And so I've realized and recognized that I need to take time to make sure that I'm being recharged and refreshed so that I can be as effective for ministry as I can whenever the time is called for. And so I took some of the things that I learned, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to learn how to fish. And so it's been an interesting time. There have been some good successes, but there's also been some failures. And but I think more importantly, it's time where I go and just get still and quiet. We went through a video series in Sunday school this year called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And in that book, John Mark Comer, the author of it, he just argues about how our culture is so driven today. It just goes against the grain of what Christ led for us as an example. You know, the modern culture today, a day off is not really a day of rest. A day off is a day where you are super active doing other things other than what you do for your occupation. And I've really been challenged by that this year. And so I've been learning to take time to go and just be still and be quiet and rest. And out by the lake, fishing alone by myself has been a great opportunity to do that this year. I was reminded of this verse in Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 through 30. It says, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke and learn from me, because I'm lowly and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." You know, God wants us to rest. But when God gave the 10 Commandments and he was telling us all of the things that he expected of us, one of the 10 Commandments is to remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. That we are not to work on that Sabbath day. That there's supposed to be a time set aside for us to stop and rest. You know, God made us. He made us exactly the way that we are. He made us so that we have energy through the day, and then we have to stop and rest in order to be recharged and ready to face the next day. So let's honor the Lord with our bodies. Let's honor the Lord with our schedules. And let's take time to stop and rest and spend time with him. It's been an encouraging thing for me, and it has been life-giving. It makes me more present, more aware, more in the moment. Even in the moments when I'm busy, I'm still more in it because I've taken the time to rest before I got to that moment. So this morning, again, I just wanted to offer some words of encouragement. I wanted to give praise to God for what he's done for me, for the gifts that he's given me. And I would just encourage you to consider the same. What has God done for you this year? What gifts are you praising him for right now? And what are you looking forward to in the next year? Because I've got some things that I'm going to be writing down as far as goals for what I want to see next, so that this time next year I can look back and see how God has been faithful to be the gift giver that that the Bible tells us he is. So God bless you. You have a Merry Christmas. Enjoy the time with your friends and family. And be a light in the darkness. Amen.